Hello everyone, welcome back to Innovate Code Hub YouTube channel. I am Damit. Today I am going to explain about relationship between entities. For that, I will get a scenario in student management system. I will get base entity as student. Based on student entity, there are multiple entities in the system like subject, notebook, batch, laptop. These are the entities in the student management system. When it comes to relationships, we can talk about many to many, many to one to many, and one to one. When it comes to relationship in the student management system, we can consider one student can have many subjects. One subject can have many students. We can mark subject and student between relationship is many to many. It means one student can have many subjects, one subject can have many students. When it comes to relationship of student and notebook, we can recognize this one is many to one. I will explain. One student can have many books. One book can have one student. We can mark student and notebook we can mark this relationship is many to one. It means one student can have multiple notebooks, one notebook can have one student. When it comes to student and batch between relationship, we can mark one student can have one batch. One batch can have many students. Student and batch relevant relationship is one to many. And when it comes to student and laptop, one student can have one laptop can have one student. These are the relationship between entities. I am going to create a ER diagram for this scenario. We will see how to manage relationship in ER diagram. I am going to ERDPlus. I will add this URL with my video description. You can refer this URL and you can try to draw a diagram for the relationships. I will get this scenario to draw a diagram, ER diagram. I am going to get new entity, call student. Okay, and I am going to get another entity, call notebook. I am going to draw a diagram for the student management system. As a first, I will get student and notebook entities. This one mark notebook. Okay, I'm going to mark relationship between student and notebook. We can do like this. Okay, I am going to mark relationship between student and notebook. When we consider from student side, one student can have multiple notebooks. One student can have multiple notebooks. One notebook can have one student. This is the relationship between student and notebook. I am going to add another entity, batch. Okay. I am going to mark relationship between student and batch. When it comes to student and batch related relationship, when we consider from student side, one student can have one batch. One student can have one batch. We can do, these are the entities. One student can have one batch. One batch can have one student. One batch can have multiple students. Sorry, this one should be changed many. These are the relationship between student and batch. I am going to add another relationship between student and laptop. I am going to add new entity called laptop. Then I am going to mark relationship between student and laptop. Okay. When we consider from student side, one student can have one laptop. Okay. One laptop can have one student. This is the relationship between student and laptop. I am going to mark relationship between student and subject. Add another entity, mark this one as subject. Then I am going to mark relationship between student and subject. Study. Okay. When we consider from student side, student can have one student can have multiple subject. Okay. One student can have multiple subject. One subject can have many student. One student can have multiple subject. One subject can have multiple student. These are the entities between, these are the relationship between entities. We have covered every relationship between entities. I am going to explain these relationship using SQL queries. I am going to create a database, and under that database I will create tables for explanation of entities. These are the relationship between entities. I am going to explain relationship between entities using SQL queries. For that, I will create a database. Under database, I will create table to explain what are the relationship between entities. I will move on to my SQL command line. I have successfully created a connection with MySQL server. Then I am going to create a database for explanation of relationship between entities. I am going to create new database. Under that database, I will create tables for the explanation of what are the relationships between entities. As a first, I am going to create a database called test. Create database test. I have successfully created a database called test. I am going to use test database. We can use this command to use test database. Use test. Okay. Successfully change database as test. Then I am going to create tables under test database. Okay. As a first, I will explain about one-to-many relationship. Before then, I need to create separate table. Student, one is student, other one is notebook. I will explain how to add one-to-many relationship between entities. I am going to create separate table called student. Create table student. I am going to add columns here. ID int 10, name Vacha, length is 50, primary key ID. I am going to execute this command in my command client interface. Okay, I have successfully executed a query which is related to create student table. I am going to show tables in my database. You can see there is a table called student in my test DB. We can describe table using this command student. You can see there are two columns in the student table. Okay, I am going to create separate table called notebook. Create table notebook. I am going to add columns here. ID int, length is 10, subject vacha, length is 50, primary key of notebook table ID. I am going to keep foreign key in the notebook table. The reason notebook entity behave like many. One student can have many notebook. One notebook can have one student. We can keep foreign key inside the notebook. We can write foreign key. Before add foreign key, we have to mention column student ID int, length is 10, student ID is a foreign key, preferences from student table ID column. Okay, create table notebook. I added ID, subject, student ID come from student table. The real name of the student table ID, this one, and I have marked student ID as foreign key in the notebook table. I am going to execute this query in my command client interface. Okay, I have successfully executed query which is related to create notebook table. I am going to show tables in my test DB. You can see there are two tables in the test DB. I am going to describe notebook table. You can see there are three fields in the notebook table. One is ID student, third one is student ID. Okay, I am going to insert sample data to these tables. Before insert data to notebook, I have to insert data to student table. The reason student ID is foreign key of notebook table. I am going to insert some student data to student table. Insert into student, insert into student values. ID and name we should added as value. ID and name. I am going to add ID1, name student1. Okay, and I am going to add another record to student table, ID2, student name is student2. Okay, I have successfully added 2 records to student table. I am going to show data in student table. We can use this query to show data in student table. Select all from student table. You can see there are 2 records in the student table. Okay, I am going to insert data to notebook. Insert into notebook values. We have to insert ID, subject, student ID as values. ID1, subject 1, student ID 1. Okay, ID 1, subject 1, student ID is 1. I have successfully insert a data row to notebook table. I am going to add another record, ID 2, subject 2, student ID is 2. Okay, I am going to show what are the data in notebook table. We can use select all from notebook table. You can see there are 2 records in notebook table. Okay, I am going to insert new record to notebook table. ID is 3, subject is subject 3, student ID is 3. When I execute this query, we can see there is an error. The reason I tried to add student ID 3 to notebook table. In the student table, there is no any record which is related to ID 3. That's the error you can see in here. Okay, that's all regarding one-to-many relationship. I am going to explain many-to-many relationship. Before that, I will move on to my ER diagram. You can see there is a many-to-many relationship between subject and student. Already we have student table. I will show you show tables. You can see there are 2 tables in my test DB. First one is notebook, second one is student. For the explanation of many-to-many relationship, I need to create separate table to subject. I am going to create separate table to subject. Create table subject ID int length is 10 and subject name is Vacha 50. Okay, primary key is ID. Okay, I am going to create separate table to subject. Subject table has two columns, ID, name. I am going to execute this query in command client interface. Okay, I have successfully insert this command. I am going to show what are the tables in my test DB. You can see there are 3 tables. I am going to describe subject table. You can see there are 2 columns in subject tables. In here you can see student is separate entity, subject is separate entity. Once we consider relationship between student and subjects, one student can have many subject, one subject can have many student. Normally when we manage relationship between many to many, we can't keep foreign key in particular entity. The reason both are behave many relationship. For that we can create separate table like this. Create table student underscore subject. This table is separate table. The reason subject and student both table are behaving like many relationship. Like one student can have many subject, one subject can have many student. Okay, that's the reason I am going to maintain separate table student subject. Okay, I am going to add 2 columns here. First one is student ID int 10. Second one is subject ID int length is 10. Okay, I have added 2 columns, student ID, subject ID. We can mark primary key as a primary key student and subject ID both like this. Primary key student ID and subject ID both are behave like primary key. We can say this one is composite primary key. Okay, I am going to mark foreign keys here. Foreign key, first one is student ID, references from student table ID, and second one is foreign key subject ID, references from subject table ID. Okay, in here we have 2 tables, student and subject. we have two tables, student and subject. When we consider relationship between both is many to many. When we maintain many to many relationship, we have to create separate table to keep foreign keys. I have created the table student and subject. In the student subject table there are two primary keys, student ID and subject ID. There are two foreign keys, student ID and subject ID. I am going to execute this query in my command line. Okay, I have successfully insert this query and I am going to show tables in my database. You can see there are 4 tables in my test DB. I am going to describe student subject table. Student underscore subject. You can see there are 2 columns in the student subject table. I am going to insert sample data to student subject table. Before that, I am going to show what are the student table related data and what are the subject table related data. Select all from student, select all from subject, there are no any records in subject table. I am going to insert sample data to subject table, insert into subject values. In the subject table there are 2 columns, ID and name. ID 1, name subject 1, and I am going to insert another record, ID 2, subject name is subject 2, and select all from subject. Okay, you can see there are 2 records in subject table, there are 2 records in student table. I am going to insert sample data to student subject table. In the student subject table there are 2 columns, student ID, subject ID. Insert into student subject, insert into student subject values. We have student 1, ID is 1, we have subject 1, ID is 1, student ID 1, subject ID 1. Insert into student subject values, student ID 1, subject ID 1. Okay, I have successfully execute this query, and again I am going to add another record, student ID 1, subject ID 2. Okay, and again I am going to insert record student id 2, subject id 2, and student id 2, subject id 1. Okay, I am going to show records of student subject table. Select all from student underscore subject. You can see there are 4 records in the student subject table. Student id 1 belongs 2 record. One is student id 1, subject id 1, student id 1, subject id 2. There are 2 record which are belongs to student id 2, student id 2, subject id 1, student id 2, subject id 1. That's it regarding many to many relationship. I am going to explain one to one relationship. Before that, I will move on to my ER diagram. You can see when we consider about student and laptops between relationship, we can mark as one to one. Already I have a table to student. I am going to create separate table for laptop. Okay, I'm going to create separate table for laptop. Create table laptop, id int, length is 10. We can mark brand, Vacha. We can add length is 50, and primary key id. Before execute this query, we need to keep foreign key in the laptop table. When we consider student table, student and laptop tables both are behaving one to one relationship. Like one student can have one laptop can have one student. We can maintain foreign key inside laptop table like this. Foreign key, student id, references from student table id. I am going to execute this query in my command line. Before execute this query, we need to mark student id is a column in the laptop table, int 50, then we can execute. Okay, I have successfully executed the query which is related to create laptop table. I am going to show tables in my DB. You can see there are 5 tables in my test DB. I am going to describe laptop table. Okay, you can see there are 3 fields in laptop table. Already I have 2 records in student table, I will show you. Select all from student. You can see there are 2 records. I am going to insert new records to laptop table. Insert into laptop values student. We have to insert ID brand student ID. ID is 1, brand 1, student ID is 1. Then can execute. I am going to add another record, 2, and 2, student ID is 2. I have successfully inserted 2 records to student laptop table. I am going to show result of the laptop table. Select all from laptop. You can see there are 2 records in the laptop table. These are the things which I needed to teach you today. I have teach how to manage relationships between entity, how to manage foreign keys in our database. Those are the things which I needed to teach you today. I hope you could grasp my explanation. In the next video, I hope to teach about join query and SQL functions. If you have any comment or suggestion, please put that into comment section. See you on next video and thanks for watching.